Hello, Professor. For the visual portion of this first assignment, I wanted to get a little bit personal and actually read to you the journal entry that I mentioned within the body of my essay. This entry, again, is in regards to my biology professor, Jared Rathel, that I met at Estrella Mountain Community College. So just to dive right into it, so this isn't too long. I had written this entry on January 18th of 2018, so I was 17 at the time. And I said, I really want to focus this semester on gaining insight and experience in the fields that I'm interested in. I love my biology professor, and I'm going to describe him in here so I can look back at how awesome my first day of class was. So I said, he started by showing us a video in which he described as pure awesome. Now this video was of a jaguar attacking and eating a crocodile within a swamp. He said we would spend the semester talking about evolution and ecology, form and function, and so much more. He also mentioned that we would be taking field trips to the zoo and the botanical gardens. He talked about himself and his life, his family, and then encouraged us to do the same in our groups. He ended class by showing us a microscopic picture, telling us that we could earn extra credit points if we guessed what it was. Long story short, and excuse my language, it ended up being a microscopic picture of a bedbug penis. He told us about how the male bedbugs, and I put this in quotes, literally would joust with their dicks to fight for the female bedbug. Everyone was laughing super hard. He finished the lecture with, "Science is weird, kids," and then went on to tell us that we would be the generation to change the world. I think this is going to be a great semester. And then one of the quotes that I wrote down from that first lecture that still sticks with me today was, "We make our world significant by the courage of our questions and the depths of our answers." Now, I'm a very sentimental person, and I have multiple unfinished journals just in my bookshelf amongst all of my books. And so I was actually very impressed with myself that I could find this entry, but I think it's a beautiful thing to write down experiences that are meaningful to oneself, and then being able to reflect on those experiences and on just the point of view that I had back then and what was important to me and how that kind of affects me now several years later. It's just such an interesting and beautiful thing. So I wanted to share that first and foremost. And then secondly, I kind of wanted to talk very briefly about some of the literature that I read at ASU. So like I had mentioned, it was one of the most reading heavy semesters that I had. This is just a few of the books that I had to read for the various classes that I was taking. It was quite a lot. I don't think I appreciated the books back then quite as much as I do now, just because so much of it was intellectually focused, right? Being able to read and process and write about it in regards to a medical setting, in regards to medical ethics or diversity in healthcare and illness, and how I would therefore apply those kinds of concepts as a practitioner. But looking back at it now and being able to kind of digest the content in a more casual setting, I guess I realized just how beautiful these pieces are and just how impactful they truly were to me, even if I didn't really realize it at the time. And it is nice to have all of these books just to kind of go back on and reference. So two of the books that I really wanted to talk just a little bit more about and share are these two here. So the first one being Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. Incredible author. He's an American physician, and within this book specifically, he talks about aging and death and dying and just kind of how the doctor-patient relationship near the end of patients' lives is not exactly what it should be. I'm just reading off my notes. So he highlights the importance of preserving care that is human-centered instead of treating death and dying as another medical problem to solve. I think this was one of the many things that I read in pieces of literature that really began to help me understand just the importance of humanity first and people first in care, and just like with compassion fatigue and professionals that get into the profession for the wrong reasons, that doesn't always happen, and especially during end-of-life care, that doesn't always happen. So really incredible book about death and dying. Definitely recommend giving it a read. And then the second book I really want to talk about is The Beauty and Breaking by Michelle Harper. Another incredible book. She is an emergency room physician, incredible author, by the way, as well. And she speaks of her experience as an African-American woman that was at the time working in a predominantly male and white field. And she integrates her personal life story, kind of giving the readers a background of who she is and what she's been through at the beginning of the book, and then relates those experiences into the text when she begins to talk about her experiences in the emergency room. And then really just ties everything together beautifully as to how those experiences helped her grow and begin to self-heal. So again, books like this just give perspective that is not my own. And I really appreciate being able to read from someone else's point of view, especially when it comes to a field that I want to enter and into situations that I, at the time, really wanted to be involved in. So just some of the literature that I read, I just wanted to share that, and just those books and how they impact me.